was actually by Isabel together with us from the PRME Working Group on Climate Change and Environment. And I'm really, really pleased that you all want to join us to hear something about, I think, a very, very important upcoming topic about how to actually engage our students internationally and to give them international experience without flying them all over the world and moving them across all the time in planes and so on. And we will hear much, I did make it quite basic now in my introduction, we hear much more about it from Isabel and her team. And with this, I think I hand over to Isabel already and also the others who are joining us as presenters so that you can introduce yourself. And I'm really pleased that you are joining us. And also, actually, I did forget to introduce myself. I am the co-chair of the PRME Working Group on Climate Change and Environment, and I'm really pleased to have you all here. Thank you very much. I think, Paolo, do you want to say a word as well for you and PRME? Because it's so nice that you are supporting us.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Petra. Hello, everyone. My name is Paulo Spironi. I'm the manager of Strategy, Governance, and Innovation at the PRME Secretariat. And it's a pleasure for us to be here supporting the Working Group on Climate and Environment led by Petra, one of the most impactful working groups we have. Definitely one with the most number of activities like this amazing webinar we will be all following today. And at the personal level, I'm looking much forward to learn from you. So I will stop here so we can start the show. Isabel, please.
Thank you, Paulo. Let me also start by thanking Petra for creating this space for us to talk about COIL, a tool which we are very, very passionate about. You'll see about that in a moment. And I also wanted to thank Paulo and Sienna from PRME for actually helping us set all of this and making it work across time zones and with Zoom. So technology is wonderful, but it does have its quirks. So thank you very, very much for your support and all your encouragement. And like Petra said, my name is Isabel Rodriguez-Tejedo, and I'm a professor at the University of Navarra in Pamplona, Spain. And I'm going to be talking today with a set of co-COILers or COILer friends who are joining me. And what we're going to do is I'll talk about COIL a little bit, then we'll engage in a discussion. So hopefully there will maybe some interest in COIL, or you will have some questions. So let me introduce Amelia, Naim from IPMI in Indonesia. Amelia, I know you're stuck in traffic. Thank you so much for joining. I don't know if you're able to say hello.
Yes, hello. Thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to be home so I can join properly.
Thank you, Amelia. You know, Anjali, Chaudhry, I saw you before from Dominican University in the United States.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm here, Professor of Management, joining from UCC Cork in Ireland, where I'm serving out my Fulbright. And as Isabel said, we are a bunch of COILers here who will be telling you about how it is done, and also have a very nice activity at the end to help you think about how you could incorporate in your own teaching. So I'm really excited to be here and welcome all.
Thank you. I don't know, Ferdinand Yimbanira from the University of Mpumalanga in South Africa. I don't know if I saw you coming in, Ferdinand, maybe not yet.
Yes, I'm there. Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Ferdinand Yimbanira. I'm from the University of Mpumalanga in South Africa. And I would like to take opportunity to invite everyone to visit us. We are just 30 kilometers away from our national, Kruger National Park. So in case you are around, please pass by our university. Yes, I'm looking for a nice and interesting meeting today, and encourage everyone actually to join this amazing team. Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you, Ferdinand. Mary Ragwi from Kenyatta University in Kenya.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Mary Ragwi from Kenyatta University in Kenya, School of Business, Economics and Tourism. I join Professor Ferdinand in welcoming all of you into Africa. We are based in Nairobi, Kenya. That is the center, or what we call the heart of Africa. And I am happy to be here. And as I see this dissemination, it makes me proud of the work that has been done And congratulations, Isabel, for this, and also the other team members. I am really proud to be part of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Ruben Burga from the University of Guelph in Canada is here today.
Hello, everyone, and fellow COILers. It's great to be here. Thank you, Isabel, for coordinating this. And of course, thank you to Prime and everyone else who's involved. I'm faculty in the Lang Business School at the University of Guelph, and I'm really happy to be here to help out with Isabel's efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Yang Hung, also from the University of Guelph in Canada.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, my name is Yang. When I took part in the COIL experience, I was still finishing up my degree, so I was still like, a PhD student, but now I'm recently done. So, but I thank you again to, everyone thank you again to everyone who's shown up today. This is a very, I think, very worthwhile and very interesting experience for the students. And so, I look forward to supporting Isabel, who, again, congratulations on organizing this, but I look forward to supporting Isabel in any capacity that I can.
And Romina couldn't make it. She was feeling sick today, but we are lucky that Jalila Bello from the UK, who also works in COIL, could join us. So Jalila, I don't know if you're here already. Maybe she'll join us in a bit. But let me share this sentiment on welcoming everybody. And let me, at any point you have any questions, or if the screen is not showing properly, please don't hesitate to speak up. So in today's session, first I want to talk a little bit about what is COIL, what are the benefits, why we love it, and we have loved it, and we continue to love it. But I think it's a better way to approach COIL, to take a look at least one COIL experience. So we're going to share one COIL experience with you, which hopefully will spark questions and create what-if scenarios in your head, that when you start thinking about what to COIL, maybe in your course or outside your course, maybe as we go into the workshop, where we will go into breakout rooms and talk about the benefits and the risks of COIL, and thinking about, well, what can I do as a professor or facilitator in COIL? Maybe those, I think, will be hopefully the most interesting part of today's session. Plus what we have at the very end, which is I will be very proud. I'm very happy to present two different opportunities for COIL engagement. One of them hosted and created by the Climate Change Working Group itself. So that's very tailored to the interests of some of you. And we're very excited to be working on it for next academic year. And also the COIL activity that I will be talking about today, the one we have been doing for the last few years with some of my co-facilitators today. So without any further ado, what is COIL? And many of you may have heard about collaborative online international learning. Some of you might have heard about virtual exchange, which is the name that was used, for example, by the European Commission more than 10 years ago, when they started talking about how global competence can be developed by moving students around. But even then they said, well, moving students around is not always possible. Now we know sometimes it's not even desirable, like Petra was saying. So even 10, 15 years, and we can talk about the history of COIL if you want, but it's not necessarily new, but I would still call it an innovative tool. And just like the Blackboard was an innovative tool at some point in history. And COIL is unique in that it uses the online tools and abilities that we all have, thanks to COVID to some extent, to create cultural exchange and collaboration across countries for learners. And I say learners, I will keep on talking about students later on, but I want to say learners first of all, because this is a tool or a pedagogical approach that can be used by anybody who shares a learning experience with others. So my experience is with business school students, like many of my co-facilitators. But if you're a professional who works at a youth organization, if you are working in adult learning, even if you're a high school professor or a high school teacher, COIL may be a tool that is of interest to you, because what it does can be replicated across many learning settings. And it's a tool that really will bring out the learning component for your students. Now, what do students do in COIL? And we'll talk about it later, but I just wanted to preface by saying that students can do a ton of things, very many different things. So you can have students engaging in joint projects. You can have them creating research together, maybe talking, discussing about the topic. And all of this will be done online through technology and platforms that, for the most part, you can use totally for free, making COIL a cheap and readily available opportunity for collaboration for learners across the globe. And I think that's important because COIL, by definition, will improve global competence in your students. Or there's always somebody who is resistant to learning, but for the most part, what we have seen is that when we put our students in these very diverse groups, they get exposed to very different perspectives. They talk and interact with people from different cultures, and this in itself is something that will prepare them for their professional futures. So more and more today, our students are working in teams, in companies that have offices in many places in the world. So just by having this global competence, they will be better prepared for that future. For those of us who are non-native speakers, COIL is often done in English, although it can be done in any language. It has an additional extra perk, which is that you can test your ability to communicate with others in a low risk, low or small, setting that can help you get some confidence so that you go out into this globalized world a little bit more sure of yourself and your ability to communicate. If you're teaching native speakers, I also think there is a lot of language competence that they can gain from interacting with foreign students in a COIL. And that's because sometimes it's hard for a native speaker to kind of make room for those of us who are non-native speakers. And they do develop skills. They learn how to be more flexible. They learn how to adjust. So global competence, I don't just mean getting to know people across the globe, although that's also a plus, but really competence across very many different dimensions. And more crucially, it definitely increases cultural sensitivity. It helps them integrate technology in actual, real, meaningful work. And it creates a sense of thinking critically in a global perspective. And I believe, looking at around us, at the world the way it is, we do need citizens who are critical thinkers, who are kind of geared towards collaboration and see the world as their world, not just a little piece of their own country or their own region. Now, because of it, I believe COIL is a particularly well-suited tool when you want your students to explore global challenges. And you can think about, for example, definitely climate change or the UN Sustainable Development Goals, because when you do a COIL, by definition, you will get different perspectives, different expertise from around the world. So if my students in Spain are interviewing one company in Indonesia, right there, they will take a different perspective, a different look, and probably they will also encounter interdisciplinary collaboration, all of which seem crucial today as we are set to address these very complex and highly interconnected issues on a global scale, like, for example, climate change. Now, I don't know if you're excited already, but if not, let me maybe walk you through the 4 key aspects of why I believe COIL is a really powerful tool. And at the core, I think COIL is a good tool to use because it gets students what they need today and for the future ahead. First, because it's collaborative. By definition, COIL happens with other people and it facilitates teamwork. It encourages collaborative learning where students work together on whatever it is that you want them to work, but it allows them to get together in a meaningful way. If you have a long-standing COIL, my fellow COILers and I typically do COILs that last about 5 weeks. This means that your students will meet repeatedly a few times, and they will interact with their peers through these virtual collaborations, and they will talk, they will dialogue, they will share ideas, and more importantly, I think they're not passive learners. They will become co-creators of their own learning, and they will be the teachers and the learners from their peers as well. And while they're doing this without realizing even, they will be improving their communication skills. They will learn if they need to talk slower, if they need to maybe use the chat a little bit more often because their accent is a little bit difficult for their peers to understand. So as they enter an interconnected world, they will be better prepared for it. And I love this proverb I don't know about you, but I often hear from my very best students, oh, professor, I hated doing this, whatever it was, in a group. I could have done it so much faster, so much better if I had done it alone. And it's true. Maybe we can have our students complete work faster if we just have them do the project alone or with peers they've known for a few years. But if we want to have meaningful change, if we want to have meaningful experiences, it's important that we have them work together. So if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, you want your students to go far, maybe think about having them go together. It's
Isabel?
also, and by the, yes.
Isabel, there is a comment that some of the people are not a native English language speaker. So if you don't mind going slightly slowly.
This is my own COIL. I tend to speak fast when I'm a bit nervous. Sorry about that, guys. And thank you so much for pointing it out. So as I was saying, COIL is collaborative. You need Anjali telling Isabel, you're speaking very fast. It's also online. So students will work with tools that they're already familiar with. They will use Zoom, WhatsApp, whatever. And they will engage in real remote work, something that many of them will get to do professionally. It will also allow you to create flexible learning experiences. Part of the work that is done in COIL can be done asynchronously, so you don't need to have them all the time at the same time. And that might make it possible for students with atypical working schedules, for example, to work together. And one part that is fascinating, and I think it's what sets COIL apart, is that it overcomes geographical barriers and it can give people global experience without the need to travel. And I see this as a multifaceted advantage. On the one hand, I know my students, some of them will go on an exchange program for a semester, but they will go to one place. Let's say they go to Jakarta. And by going to Jakarta, they will not go to Vancouver, they will not go to Nairobi, they will not go to Paris, they will go to one place. And many of them will sit with the people they already know all the time with them. So I think they miss out a little bit on the multicultural perspective. When we did our COIL with 6 universities from the Americas, Europe, Africa, and Asia, my students had to connect and work with people from 6 different cultures. So right there, I think COIL sometimes can even be better than actual physical mobility. If not better, it's also sometimes the only option, especially for disadvantaged students. Some people just cannot travel. It doesn't fit their family requirements. They don't have the money. Whatever it is, they will not be able to gain global experience unless you make the global experience available domestically. And the European Commission actually recognized this over 10 years ago, saying mobility has a wonderful array of advantages, but we need to make global abilities available to people who cannot travel. And even if people can travel, sometimes there is no need for them to travel. So we know that traveling has high costs in many ways. So one of them is the CO2 footprint. And there is a number of calculators. You can see here how much CO2 would be emitted by traveling between Paris and New York. And as more and more people travel, even if companies are improving their intensity, their energy intensity, this is becoming a real concern. So many of us in the climate change group are worried about this. So can you get global experience without this CO2 footprint? I think the answer is to some extent and to a large extent, yes. And one opportunity is through COIL. So it's collaborative, it's online, and it's international. It will create a global perspective for your students. They will talk with peers from different cultural backgrounds, different languages. It will expose them to different customs and traditions. So for example, if today is a national holiday in country A, your students will learn about that. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, I didn't know you were fasting for Ramadan, or whatever it is. They will broaden their global outlook. It will help them become truer global citizens by breaking down stereotypes, cultural barriers. For example, some of my students said, you know, my COIL partners thought we in Spain sleep siesta every day. And well, now you know, very few small percentage of us in Spain actually sleep siesta. So they will gain empathy, intercultural competence, and as a side effect, they will expand their network. So you make friends through COIL. I, as a professor, have now friends in other countries, and many of them are here with me today. My students had the same experience. And like Martin Luther King said, an individual has not started living until he moves from the individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of all humanity. And I know it sounds grandiose, but in a small way, COIL can really help your students do exactly that. And the last piece of the puzzle for COIL is that it truly is a learning experience. It encourages students to reflect, to think about how cultures work together, how they can collaborate better, and it will help them get experiential learning. And that's something we have done in our COIL experience. You can create your COIL around lots of different assignments. They can be real work projects, you can have simulations, you can have a lot of things that will facilitate profound, lasting learning. So some of the students who participated in our first COIL have reached back to me and said, that was the single most impactful experience I had in my university degree. So really, it can be transformational. And at the same time, you will have to work hard to create the experience, but COIL will empower your students to become owners of their own learning journey. We don't give them all the answers. You will encourage their autonomy. They will have to problem solve. They will have to figure things out. They will become more self-directed learners. And hopefully this will help them broaden their academic interests. So I'm sure you've heard this quote that if you tell me something, I forget. If you show me, maybe I will remember. But by engaging students in a meaningful learning experience, they will understand and hopefully they will remember. So as you can see, I'm very passionate about this. And I wanted to show you that we do have some evidence for this. We've done this a few times already. Every time we ask for students for feedback. And there's nothing you can do that everybody will love, that's for sure. But over multiple COILs, our students have overwhelmingly told us, yes, please keep on doing this. This is something we may not have enjoyed throughout the experience. Sometimes it's hard, but at the end, it's something that they're very, very proud. We've also gotten some recognition from different, for lack of a better word, I will call them stakeholders. So I don't know if you know about the Aim to Flourish competition. I'll mention it in a second. Our mixed team of students have become finalists in this competition, competing side to side with students who have known each other for a few years. So students do work well together in mixed teams. In last year, Prime actually gave us a faculty award recognition for SDG integration into business teaching. And this year, we're very excited. A paper that we're writing based on a past COIL experience has actually been selected as one of the best papers in the Academy of Management's Management Education Division. So we do have some, I don't want to call it proof because we're not in physics, right? But we have some evidence that COIL works. And we are conducting some research by comparing projects or teams that were engaged in COIL and non-COIL. And our research makes us very excited. COIL does make a difference. Your students will learn, they will develop soft skills, they will develop competences, and they will actually gain a lot by engaging in this project. So I'm going to stop for a second, make sure I'm not missing any questions in the chat. Let me...
Isabel, there is one question, whether we will be sharing these slides at the end of the meeting.
Well, I do have to double check with my fellow COILers because there is stuff in here that it's not only mine, but if everybody is okay with it, I don't see a reason why not. So I'll put my my email in the chat at the end. If you could send me an email, I'll be happy to share, or maybe we can share it through Petra. I hope that answers the question. Any other questions? All right. So let me tell you a little bit about one COIL experience, the one we have been doing in the last few years. And I will begin by giving you a little bit of context. What drove us to find or to figure out a way to do this together? We, like many other professors around the globe, were thinking that our students were graduating without some of the skills that they needed as they went into the job market. And we know we were not alone. There was extensive evidence of this. And as we sought to find a tool that could help us improve this outcome, we got to this question of, can COIL help us create learning experiences that are meaningful, that have an impact for our undergrads in business school? And we wanted to do this through a planned experiential learning activity. So something we worked to create together that would integrate the learning objectives in our courses. So we will have our students talking about sustainability, going and interacting with real businesses, real business people who are making the world a better place today. And we wanted them to do it together because businesses are global, sustainability is global. We cannot keep our students in silos any longer. In the background, we were counting on students' competence with virtual communication, their acceptance, their accessibility. We knew that students also had this concern about developing soft skills. The UN was already telling us that people, society, businesses are increasingly concerned with sustainability. We started almost 3 years ago with only 3 schools. And ever since, our network has been growing. So the experience I'm going to tell you about had the research component. We did with 4 schools. And then our network has extended. In fall 2023, it included the professors who are co-facilitating with me here. I know ever since you guys have incorporated a university from Saudi Arabia and another one from Iraq. So truly a global experience I'm sorry, I just realized that my presentation got stuck. So here we go. Sorry about that. So here we go. This is our project definition, the COIL experience I wanted to explain. So maybe you can see how this can work. So we had 422 students from 6 different countries. And what we wanted to do was to get them to work together in one joint assignment, in a group work project, which was the Aim to Flourish assignment. So we took these 422 students and we grouped them in 70 groups. So you see in red the places where our universities are located. And we said, okay, guys, we're going to have a launch session. All of you hop into a Zoom call. And here we are in our very first Zoom call. And you have been assigned to these 70 groups, mixed, so you can work with people who are very different from you. What we want you to do is, as a group, identify one company that is working in such a way that it's advancing at least one of the Sustainable Development Goals. Now that you have identified this company and their innovation, go talk to the business leader. Go actually interview, really experience what it is to talk to somebody who is already doing this, doing well and doing good. And with that interview, create a story. And this is what the Aim to Flourish competition is about, really creating this story about an innovation for good. And then after the Aim to Flourish story is done, reflect, create a poster, write a reflection together. So this is the assignment, 70 groups, 400 plus students doing this exact same thing over the course of 5 weeks. Now, during these 5 weeks, we wanted our students to actually work together, not piece this out and never meet. So we forced them to meet synchronously at least once for these 5 weeks. We didn't tell them how to do it. We wanted them to explore ways of working together, to problem solve. And one common problem was figuring out when on earth are we gonna meet? Is it gonna be midnight in Indonesia? Well, that's too late. Is it gonna be 3 in the morning in Canada? That's too early. So adapt, figure it out, learn from this. To make sure that students were actually doing this, every week we gave them a little mini deliverable, something to do that will help them move closer towards the final deliverable, towards the M2 Flores story, the poster, and the reflection. And we used Google Classroom as a shared platform. So as you can see, all of this is free. You can do it without your students having to pay a dime, without them having to install any new software, and you can see them already here meeting for the first time. Now, after the 5 weeks, students produced a number of outputs. One of them is an M2 Flores story. Like I mentioned, mixed groups can work just as well as groups from one university. And this is one of our student stories that became a finalist in the M2 Flores story. We had them creating posters, and in some cases, these were physical posters that we shared in our buildings. Obviously, we wanted this to be more reaching more people. So I think it was Amelia who had the idea of creating a virtual tour or a virtual poster room, and you can visit it. Actually, you scan the QR, you can go to the metaverse right now and see the posters that our students created together. And so remember, they had the M2 Flores story, the poster, and then a reflection on what they had learned. So we wanted the students' legacy to live beyond the assignment, and we created an open educational resource book that you can read online easily to get maybe some inspiration from our student experiences. If you're interested in other ways in which you can have your students kind of continue their work, we do have a web page where you can find all of these and some other activities that we have done. So my takeaway here is that you can have your students do actual work in a course, outside the course, together with people who are from very different places. And we promise you, it will work out. Your students will manage it, and you will be very proud of what they do together. Which takes us to this question of, well, this all sounds very nice, very exciting, but should I do it? Is COIL okay for me? I like this visualization. So I like to think about really anything in terms of how much will your students learn and how difficult will it be to put in place. And by difficult, I mean it will take a lot of student time, your time, whatever it is. So if implementing COIL is going to take away from other activities, then do not do it. That's the red area probably. If whatever it is that you're trying to do requires mobility, although we know, again, got stuck. Although we know it does have a strong CO2 footprint, then maybe you need to figure out another way. Maybe you need to travel closer instead of farther. So if the resources used are not worth it, then probably not. But if, like it was our case, COIL has a very strong, very high student learning potential, then you can figure out a way in which your students can get the benefits from COIL, and maybe we can help you kind of tweak down the scale in resources used so you can find an easier way to do it. If you decide that COIL is right for you, the first question probably is, well, exactly what am I going to COIL? Remember, COIL is a collaborative learning experience. Students will do something together. So what is that something? Before you start thinking about what you can COIL, I would ask you to think about these things. So is there any part of your course, if you're doing it within a course, that would benefit from a professor coming in? And then if it's just that, if it's that you want a professor from a different place bringing their perspective, maybe you can do a Zoom. Maybe you don't need the COIL. Maybe you don't even need an actual professor. You can use a video. Or maybe you can complement your class with something else. So if all you want is a different perspective from a professor, maybe you can think of a different activity. But if you have parts in your class that would benefit from your students talking to people who have a different perspective, then that's something that you probably want to COIL, something that will have a great impact. I want to emphasize that if you do bring a COIL activity to your course, you have to make some space for it. So how does that work? Maybe you can switch out from project to project. So I used to do two group work activities in my course. Now, one of those activities is a COIL activity. I know some other people have recorded some of their lectures and put them online and said, guys, I have freed up some time in my course for you to do COIL. That's another way of doing it. Remember, COIL starts with C, so you need something that can be collaborative in nature, a discussion, a research, a project like we did. So you need to figure out something that will benefit from being done not by one single person, but in a group of people. I also wanted to mention that you can do COIL outside the class. I don't know if Yaliya has already joined us, but she has done this in the past. And if you're going to do it outside the class, you may want to consider what skills or knowledge you hope your students will get out of COIL. How will you make them engaged in COIL if it's not within a class? And how will you help your students work together with students from other parts of the world in a meaningful ways? So Yaliya, for example, did this with a hackathon around the Sustainable Development Goals, where students got together for 24 hours across the globe to work on this project. Now, remember, COIL is collaborative, and you need to figure out what kind of collaboration you want your students to engage in. And there's a number of them. I'm posting here parallel collaboration, which is the one probably most of us have experience with, which is you do A, you do B, you do C, then we'll glue the parts together and we'll give it back to our professor. I think that's a missed opportunity in COIL. If your students can piece out the assignment like that, they're missing out in terms of getting the most out of COIL. Sometimes students have to at least collaborate in getting the sequence right. So I do A first, then once that is done, Ruben in Canada will do B, and once that is done, Mary in Kenya will do C. So at least they get to build on work that has been conducted by previous teammates. But if you can find the magical spot where you get true synchronous collaboration, where students actually work together, they connect ideas together, they need to organize, and at the end, they get a product that is equally all of theirs. I think that's probably the sweet spot for true collaboration that can be done online, that will be truly international and will result in powerful learning. And let me tell you, it's not easy. So I know our students like sitting in the comfort zone. I always work with Mary. We've done it for a few years already. We know each other very well. We go for lunch together. That's the comfort zone. Then on the other end, there is the panic zone, where we throw our students into this crazy COIL. Suddenly, they're in a Zoom room with more than 400 people. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to begin. And that can be overwhelming. So we are happy to share strategies that can rein that panic back in. So our students are pushed out of their comfort zone, but they go to the learning zone, where they're challenged, where they find problems for sure, but they know how to find solutions as well. And if we can do that, I think that will be a very, very powerful experience, not only for your students. I also like to say that we professors engage in a COIL of our own. We meet weekly, we talk about the challenges, we co-create learning experiences. So you're probably tired of listening to me for, what is it, like 35 minutes? I would like now to go.
And there is a question, Isabel, as well. Do you want to take the question first?
That would be lovely, yes.
So, okay. So Marianne is asking whether, the question is, how do you prevent the intercultural aspect of COIL from being purely transactional?
So Marianne, thank you for your question. Let me see if I answered the question that you're actually asking. So the cultural aspect can become problematic if students, when faced with differences, react, let's say, in the wrong way. Or, you know, this person is lazy, or that person is always late, or whatever. You can prepare for that. And I can show you a couple of slides where we have tools. For example, you can talk your students about the different dimensions of Chaudhry, where you see countries are different in culture in many different ways. And that can help students navigate these difficulties. So for the transactional nature of multicultural, I don't know if you mean like, oh, you know, my professor has asked me to reflect about how Spanish people work. So tell me how you work, and I'll just write it out. Maybe you can create an assignment that asks students to reflect, for example, what are the perspectives of the different components in your group? So Spanish, Indonesian, South African, and how a business in these three countries would approach this problem. So I think you can probably craft an assignment that tries to bypass that transactional nature of working with people who are different from you. Does that answer your question, Marianne?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it does. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So for the workshop, unless there are any other questions right now, okay, this is what I had in mind, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So I'm gonna ask Paulo now to put us in separate breakout rooms. And the breakout rooms, hopefully we will discuss what are the benefits of COIL, what are the challenges. I would like to do it, but I'm scared of this or that. And for that, I have prepared a set of discussion cards. You can download them by scanning this QR code here, or I will put the link in the chat. Let me see if I can do that. What I will ask you to do is, once we have, or you have in your breakout room, the Google Slides, please download them. One person in the breakout room maybe just needs to do this. Download them into your own computer so you can work with them. Maybe you can go to grid view in PowerPoint so you can see many slides at once, and then try to reorder these slides as you discuss the benefits and the risks. Petra, I 100% copied this from your climate literacy training. I love this activity that you did. I figured it would be useful for us today as well. So let me see if I can share this in the chat. Everyone, oh, I don't seem to be. There's more than one way of doing things. Let me see if I can do it this different way. No. So I wonder, does, okay, let's try this here. Let me know if you can access this set of slides, and maybe you're seeing it in your screens right now. So as you go into the breakout room, get this deck of slides, you will see in green the benefits of COIL. For example, it facilitates, or it can facilitate a mindset shift. There's a number of them. There's one at the end where maybe in your discussion you will think of an additional benefit or a different benefit. So just reorder them in terms of what are the biggest benefits. And then same thing for challenges of COIL. So sometimes COIL can be difficult because of the time zone differences. And this can be a huge, and it typically is a huge problem. So reorder this. And then get talking, maybe make notes of what you think is a challenge. And after, so it's 45, maybe after 20 minutes, something like this, we can come back and reflect on this together. Is there any questions I can answer right now? Let me get back.
The only thing I will add is that each team can decide on one person who can post it in the chat box. Also, depending on time, they can report back to the group.
That would be wonderful. So I don't know, Paulo, will you be able to put us in breakout rooms now?
Yes, I'm happy to do so. How many breakout rooms do you want?
So let me see, there is 25 of us. So that's maybe 5 groups, make sense? So there's 5 people in each. I'm assuming some people will maybe have stepped away. We don't have a group with 2 people or 3 people.
Okay. May I assign then automatically, like randomly, or do you want to divide in any ways?
Maybe randomly, and my dear friends, co-facilitators, if there is several of you in one room, maybe you could step out and maybe we will reassign you. So we have at least one experienced coiler in every group.
Sounds good. So I'm creating this now, and I kindly ask the co-hosts to move around so we can better balance.
Thank you, Paulo. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we have at least one co-host in each room. So
Okay, wonderful. So if everybody is back, I wanted to spend a minute maybe talking about what you talked about in your breakout room. So if anybody from breakout room 1 maybe wants to go first and tell us, is there anything that kind of was salient in your room?
Okay, so I'm not sure which group I am though.
Well, Amelia, thank you for taking the first step.
Is it okay to share?
Please.
Okay, so in my group, it's really fun because some of the members already got experience doing some kind of coils. Even they have 8 universities and each module presented by each university. So this is like a innovative collaboration, and it's I think it's more even formal than COIL. So we actually discuss about the benefit and the challenge, and we can actually agree that probably I should not share the screen, but later I will share the PPT that we have reorder based on the priority.
So what was the greatest challenge and the greatest benefit that your group identified? Just curious.
Yeah, one thing that is different was the what was it? Can someone help me from the group? The one that came up last from the discussion. Xiao Zheng, can you help me?
Interdisciplinary collaboration.
That is the one, yeah. That is not discussed earlier, but it came up, and I agree 100% that what is making our discussion very rich.
100%, yes. And how about the greatest, well, that was challenge, greatest benefit?
The greatest challenge that was, of course, the time.
The time zone differences, those are evil.
Yeah. And the technology, I'm surprised because it's coming from my partner from European countries, as they said, yes, the internet connection and technology. I thought it would be coming from me from Indonesia.
So Anjali, Petra, I know you were together in a group with a few other people.
Yeah. Actually, we had a lot of enthusiastic people. Barbara and Gleriani are here. Either of you want to talk about the benefits and the challenges we discussed?
Yeah, I mean, for my top points, I suppose I talk about my perspective of launching a COIL in digital marketing course, so across 2 different countries. So global perspective and mindset shift. So being able to apply an open mindedness in navigating global issues in global marketing. So that really fits the bill perfectly. So I think there is an opportunity there. And I think I relate with the top challenge is the cultural misunderstanding, because we have, actually I didn't mention that in the group, but we have them in the classroom now without even getting into the COIL, because in the classroom we have, so anytime we do a group activity, there's always like, I started this year a WhatsApp group, and there has already been like the fallout, as in, oh, you're late, you're fast, you're loud, you're short, you name it. So I can imagine it being amplified. So our solution, I guess, bite size, stepping up, like start with 2 sessions, I don't know, 4 sessions, whatever it is. And the other solution, clarity and fairness, because people can relate to this principle. So being very robust when it comes to learning objectives and marking grid. So Isabel, you shared something that it's Fink's taxonomy of learning that many people know. So I think it's really good, a good starting point. And I suppose when we Google it, you can find the adaptation for your own discipline.
Yes, yes. I see, Jed, you raised your hand.
Yes. Oh, thank you. What I wanted to chime in on that idea too, because that was a point of challenge for myself and the other instructor is assignment due dates and similar work. Now, we had 2 different classes, so I wasn't expecting that we would be working from the same syllabi. But that was a point that needs clarification from the instructors. You know, what are the due dates in your class? What are the due dates in my class? And make sure that there's clarity on that. But that's a great point, Barbara, for bringing that up.
Yes, thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Jed. Also, holidays are important.
Yeah.
The first time around, I set up a deadline that was right after a holiday. My students were not happy.
No. Yeah.
So I think James, Ruben, you were together in a different group?
Yep, I was in a different group with 4 other instructors. Jed was the other instructor who had experience with COIL, but James was in full flow, giving a very nice summary. James, are you able to give us the top 3 things that you found? Because you were giving a beautiful summary. Are you there, James?
Yeah, this happens with online. People, sometimes you want to leave the breakout room and you end up leaving the session altogether.
Okay, so James is muted right now, so I'm just going to speak for him. So in our meeting, we had 2 people who had COIL experience, 2 who did not, and 1 who embraced it fully and had James had an idea of making just a faculty COIL, which is great if you have specific ideas. I think it is fantastic. But I think the common thing in terms of challenges that we talked about were 2 challenges. One was a time zone situation, and the other one was the how do you engage students when they only meet once a week if they're doing a synchronous meeting. In terms of benefits, there was definitely benefits in intercultural communication and understanding. And of course, the whole aspect of interdisciplinary collaboration, because students are coming in from different backgrounds. But we spent more time talking as a free flow of sharing than going through and shifting the cards around. So hopefully that's helpful. If anybody from my team wants to say anything else, by all means, please.
No. Good summary.
That is very helpful. Thank you. The slides are there as a backup. Sometimes I hate the risk of an empty room and nobody taking the lead. So it's always good to have a backup, for me at least. But they were there just for ease of use. Does anybody have anything that we haven't kind of covered? Any questions? Okay, so I was planning on asking you as kind of like identify your most important, but you guys kind of did that amazingly already in the discussion. And I don't want to intrude on anybody's time. There's only 9 minutes left in our session. So let me finish up by pointing out COIL opportunities. And there's a number of ways in which you can find partners. The working group, the climate change working group, actually has a COIL coming out for next academic year, 24-25. And you see Jelija's email here on the left. And maybe, Jelija, you can put it in the chat. That might make it easier for people to get it if they're interested. So what the working group is thinking of is providing this international experience through a kind of travel the world initiative. And what we will do is have let's say every session, one of the participants will be hosting the whole group and sharing an activity with the group. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about this COIL opportunity, email Jalila, her email is right there, or email me, and we'll get more information to you. And again, the idea here, the commitment would be you become the host in one of the sessions, and for that, you prepare some materials for people to read before they come to the session, things like what you should know about our food, about our culture, something that you may not know about, let's say, for example, Pamplona, Spain. And then on the day of the actual session, the synchronous part, you will be doing something interactive. And this does not necessarily require that you do it with students. You can do it with an activist group, with a volunteering group. If you do it with students, that's also amazing. So please, if you're interested, if you just want to learn a little bit more about it, if it's something that could potentially interest you, send an email to Jalila, and she will get back to you. The other COIL opportunity that we will be doing again next year is the one I've mentioned in today's presentation. So this one, we have our students working together to identify businesses that are actually helping the Sustainable Development Goals. So the other one is focused on climate change, and we will ask participants to share an experience around climate change. This one is about all 17 SDGs, and it does have a focus on undergraduate business students learning a little bit more about how businesses can play a good role in society. So if you're interested, reach out to me. You have my email there, or you can reach out to the other COILers in today's session. And that gives us 5 minutes for me to thank everybody who made time on a Friday. I know some of you, it's Friday evening, which is a bad time for everything, Friday morning, Friday midday. So thank you so very much to the Climate Change Group for organizing, Paulo and Sian for your help setting this up, and obviously to my fellow COILers. There's literally, this could not be done without friends who work with you to give this experience to students.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
Anybody?
you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Isabel. It was a great session.
So I might stop sharing my screen so I can see all of your faces.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Isabel. I will send you an email.
Probably we can make a group picture if everyone can turn on the camera.
Amelia, you're always the one who remembers. Thank you very much.
Yes, if you can open your camera, Dima. James, James could not open his camera. Manjula.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Kathy. Marita, some of you I didn't get to see in the breakout rooms. It's nice to see you now. Thank you for attending.
And thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
and thank you for
thanks very much to Isabel and the whole team for giving us this great session. So maybe we can make an acoustic clap. Can we all put our
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much. And then before you all go, I would like to just ask Jalila, can you please explain, because I put this in the chat, but before I say tell you different things, because I'm obviously very thankful to Jalila and Isabel for organizing our PRME Working Group on climate change. But if I believe it right, people can be host, but they can also just decide to join with their students.
Absolutely.
And always host.
Absolutely. Yes,
Yeah?
they can be host. It's important that we have hosts because we want to run a world tour. So we want to land in Oman, we want to land in South Africa. So it's really important that we have hosts. But if you can't be host, please do join with your students. It is free, it's available to all. And you heard from Isabel earlier in the session that it is, I don't want to call it cheap, but it is a way of connecting people that cannot even travel or have opportunity to study with certain group of students from across the globe. So please do share it. Feel free to express your interest in hosting it. If you can't host it, help us promote it and also join the sessions. We're going to have follow-up emails, and we will have an information sessions for those that are volunteering to be part of the working group COIL, but it shouldn't require many weeks 1 hour, 90-minute sessions is fine. It's going to be across 12 months, hopefully. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Yaliya. And I believe, Paolo, are you sending to everyone the slides and the recording afterwards? Is it right?
Yes, we can do that for sure.
This is brilliant. Thanks so much. Because I think it was so nice. I think everybody will, as I think, at least I want to look things up again and listen to things again, maybe when planning the next COIL. So thanks so much to everyone. Thanks to Paolo also for hosting us. Thanks to everyone else who contributed today. And I hope you have a great day. Thanks, and join us next time. Thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.